united in diversity. We are very heterogeneous in our opinion.
If we do not renew our partnerships with the rest of the world, Europe will not be relevant.
We can make it if we are together as Europeans.
Development and looking ahead.
Do you genuinely believe that countries will manage to reach these very ambitious targets?
Please take your seat. Perfect. We'll have the microphone working. Good afternoon, everyone. Please take your seats in the room here. My name is Louise Guillot. I'm a sustainability reporter with Politico, and I will be your host for today's event, which is entitled Walking the Talk on the European Oceans Pact. It's co-sponsored by the Oceano Azul Foundation and the Europe Jacques Delors think tank. So this afternoon, we'll be talking about the upcoming Oceans Pact, of course, which is expected to be unveiled before the UN Ocean Conference that will be taking place in June in Nice. But also, we be talking more broadly about how to improve ocean governance and preserve both the oceans and marine resources, and also the activities that depend on it. But before we dive in, I need to do some few housekeeping remarks. So we would like to make this event as interactive as possible. So I really encourage you to share your thoughts and comments on social media by tagging @LivePolitico and using the hashtag EUBlueFuture. I also invite you to send questions, and we already received some on Slido using the same hashtag, EUBlueFuture. And I'll be doing my best to take as many questions as I can during our panel discussion. But before we start, we would also like to hear from you and your thoughts on the following poll presented by the Europe Jacques Delors think tank and the Oceano Azul Foundation. The question is, what actions could unlock the full potential of the European Oceans Pact? So we'll look at the results of the panel, of the poll, at the end of the panel. But before we kickstart the interview, I'd like to welcome on stage Tiago Pitia Cunha, President of the Executive Committee of the Oceano Azul Foundation, and Geneviève Pons, Director General and Vice President of Europe Jacques Delors.
So, who starts?
I think I start, but because of...
Ladies first.
Okay, no, thank you very much. Very, very glad to be there. And many thanks for all the persons who are with us here in this room and also in video conference. And a special thanks to our speakers. Special mention, if you allow me, to Commissioner Cadiz, who is there to speak about the future Ocean Pact, and to Olivier Poivre d'Arvor, who will make the link between the Ocean Pact and UNOX 3. I wish to make three rapid points. Where do we come from? Where are we? And where do we want to go? And then Tiago will speak about his favorite subjects, about governance and a sustainable blue economy. But first of all, where do we come from? Both of us were in the EU Ocean and Waters mission. And we have experienced two main steps in the creation of what has become for us the Starfish mission. First step, it was September 2019, and it was a lady whom I had recruited in WWF European office, and she came with a central objective: restore our ocean and waters. And then we had a very interesting intervention by another lady, Monica Verbeek, whom most of you know, And she is still heading Seas at Risk. She was at that time. And she came with the necessity of a holistic, systemic vision. And through these two interventions, we started to build the concept of the starfish with a central aim, restore our ocean and waters, and 5 manners to get there, 5 complementary manners: science and education, governance, fight against pollutions, protection, and finally, last but not least, sustainable blue economy. So that's where we come from. And then, during the Green Deal backlash, that will be the second step where we are, during the Green Deal backlash, before this new mandate, we felt the necessity to re-wake the desire to protect our ocean. And with Océano Azul, we had this idea of a manifesto for a European Ocean Pact. And we gathered a team of high-level stakeholders, including Isabella, who will speak with us, and Catherine, who is there, and Peter, and many, I guess, who are invited today. And we had not decided to reuse the Starfish mission, but finally it came as a kind of evidence because of the necessity to be holistic and systemic. We presented our manifesto in 2 places, Athens and Brussels, at the same time. And we had a surprise, it was mid-April, we had a surprise on the 18th of July to discover that it was part of the program of Mrs. von der Leyen. And then we had another good surprise. We had Mr. Cadiz, Commissioner Cadiz, with us on the 15th of January, telling us that this manifesto for a European Ocean Pact was, in a certain manner, his roadmap to design the future European Ocean Pact. So these are very good surprises. Where do we want to go now? We want to have a holistic, systemic, ambitious, programmatic Ocean Pact, European Ocean Pact for UNOX 3 to show the way for the rest of the world. And we want, for instance, to have a real 30 by 30 program. For instance, why not a common definition of MPAs inspired by the one of EUCN? And this will be a right way forward to effectively protect our ocean and waters. We have many other ideas in the field of science, for instance, digital twin of the ocean, make it solid and an inspiration for the rest of the world, and IPOS. For the IPOS, it is the International Panel on Ocean Sustainability. And it's a way to put science and action, political action, together. We need a lot of other things, but now it's the time for Thiago to speak about the rest. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Commissioner Costa Cadiz, Ambassador Poivre d'Arvor, friends, ladies and gentlemen. Océano Azul Foundation is glad for being together with Europe Jacques Delors, co-sponsoring this political event on the European Ocean Pact, and we thank everyone here and online for attending. I only have a brief moment, so I will focus on why we need such a European Ocean Pact and why it is important. And I think that there are several reasons that are equally important reasons. But the first of all, I think, is that we need to understand that there is a crisis looming, actually growing in the ocean, and that when we speak on a planetary crisis, we need to speak not only of climate and biodiversity crises, but we need to speak also of the ocean crisis. I mean, we are still not on a path to recovery, but we are still worsening the environmental condition of the ocean. And to have this recognition is very important, including within the Union, where we're still seeing growing coastal pollution and less fish stocks and biomass in the ocean. An ocean pact should be our responsible response to this. And we can do it in three ways. First, we can, through the right decision-making at the international level of global ocean governance, we can show the leadership that the Union has showed already at the adoption of BBNJ, the High Seas Treaty, and that the Union has showed at the adoption of the Target 3 for 30 by 30 at the Kunming-Montreal framework, global framework. But we still do not have a real foreign policy for the ocean in the Union. On the daring times we are living in would allow us to rally the world, to be inclusive, and on preserving the ocean. In fact, we miss not only a foreign policy, we are an ocean union, union without an ocean policy. Such a policy, besides of including a foreign policy, needs to also bring about a policy for ocean research, a massive strategic investment in a new era of ocean exploration, as President Macron announced last week in Lisbon. Why? Well, we need to know much more in order to be able to fix, and also in order to be able to untap the ocean potential for growth and jobs. Thirdly, we can fix ocean problems, first and foremost, if we develop the right ocean economy. So we should use the Ocean Pact to get a truly blue economic revolution. The ocean is an incredible source, an asset for clean energy, for clean shipping and ports, for sustainable food, for blue biotechnology, and for blue nature finance, for the carbon and the biodiversity credits and markets of the future. And finally, the ocean is a vital asset to our defense and our security, and we need to protect it also in this way, as our trade, our energy, and our communications depend upon it. Fully exploring the ocean as a geopolitical asset of the Union is a no-brainer for an European Ocean Pact. Concluding, a malfunctioning ocean as a critical life support system of the planet needs to be fixed. The Ocean Pact should aim at fixing this, at bringing solutions for the ocean problems, by giving Europe a full, high-level political vision for ocean action, and including in this vision the roadmap for the much-needed blue economy revolution, the strategy and investment on ocean scientific exploration, the Union's foreign policy for the ocean multilateral international agenda, and the maritime defense and security strategy the Union, today more than ever before, really needs. Thank you very much.
Thank you both. Let's get right into it, and let me welcome Commissioner for Fisheries and Oceans on stage, Kostas Kadis, please. For an opening interview. So we are pressed on time, so I'll start right in with my questions. Thank you very much, Commissioner, for joining us. The European Commission is organizing, obviously, this week the European Ocean Days, which are meant to inform also the drafting of the pact that we talked about in introduction. And I'm sure you already started working on it. So it'd be great if you can tell us maybe a little bit more about its content and what that is. I know it will have like 5 pillars, but can you tell me a bit more about the targets that you'd like to include also in this pact?
Yes. First, let me thank you and the organizers of this event for organizing the event and for giving us the opportunity to discuss a little bit about one of the main priorities under my portfolio, the development of the Ocean Pact. I think we are all here today because we all recognize the immense importance of the ocean and the health and the resilience of our ocean is critical not only for the planet's well-being, it is extremely important also for the European competitiveness at the global stage. We therefore have to make sure that the policies that affect and they are affected by the ocean are well organized, are harmonized, and they are not conflicting. And the way we implement them we secure, we safeguard the health and the resilience of our ocean, but at the same time, we leverage its vast potential. This will be the purpose of the Ocean Pact. It will be a single reference strategic framework under which all the ocean-related policies will be placed in a coherent and harmonized way. So what it will be in the Ocean Pact? We are in the middle of a consultation exercise, an extensive consultation exercise. Therefore, I cannot say precisely how the pact will be structured or what will be exactly the content. However, we already know that there will be some key priorities and areas of interest. The one was already mentioned, the developing of a sustainable blue economy. There is a lot of potential there, but the prerequisite for that is to safeguard the health and the resilience and the productivity of our ocean. So another area of priorities, another priority area is the securing the health of the ocean. Then we need to ground our ocean-related policies on sound knowledge. Therefore, developing a robust knowledge framework that will support the implementation of our ocean-related policies will be essential, and that will be another of the main priority in the Ocean Pact, and the role of research and innovation in this direction will be again critical. Then we need international ocean governance. It is very important. I mean, the challenges that the ocean faces are not local. They do not recognize borders. So we need to mirror the policies of the European Union at international level. So again, a coherent global ocean governance is essential. From the consultations we had so far, it became obvious that we need to further strengthen our coastal communities and cities in order to be more sustainable. And finally, an integral part of the Ocean Pact will be the mechanism through which the Ocean Pact will be implemented. Because in order to be meaningful, the Ocean Pact should be implementable. And we need to set a mechanism that will secure the implementation of the pact. It will monitor the progress and it will address any difficulties that will arise.
And will that be a legislative proposal, or are you looking to include specific indicators, performance indicators in the content of the pact to kind of track that progress?
Yes, definitely there will be indicators through which we will measure the progress. But as far as the content and the ways that the Ocean Pact will be implemented, there are some ideas. There are ideas for example, for key actions through key initiatives that will be included in the Ocean Pact, and they may include legislative action, but action that will be in line with the wider political priorities of this European Commission. Sustainability, competitiveness, reduction of red tape, simplification, energy transition, innovation, all these guidelines, all these political priorities should be reflected in the initiatives that will be included in the Ocean Pact. We also seek, through the Ocean Pact, to have policy integration, to integrate our ocean-related policies so that to ensure that the environmental and economic strategies are also integrated. We need to focus on education and awareness of the people. That was one issue that was raised very, very intensively, I would say, by the young people in our very interesting discussion that we had this morning, the importance of public awareness and public education. And I believe that our policies is more likely to be effective and successful when they are implemented by citizens that are well aware about the importance of the ocean.
And so you talk a lot about implementation of existing and I guess also future ocean policies. That also requires funding, money. So how do you intend to find and secure the required financing and investment to put in place the policies that you will be detailing in the Ocean Pact? Do you want a European Ocean Fund as part of the next EU long-term budget?
Yes.
Yeah. What are you?
Yes,
how are you going to secure that?
It is not easy to say right now what the funding mechanism will be, because we are in the middle of the development process of the next MFF, and we are in the middle of the consultation exercise for the Ocean Pact. What I can say is that funding will be a critical factor for the implementation of the Ocean Pact, and we have to secure that there will be adequate funding to support what will be in the Ocean Pact.
So you've got commitment from President von der Leyen that there will be enough money?
I mean, there are some funds allocated to the activities of my portfolio. I will make sure that these funds, a large part of these funds will be allocated towards the implementation of the Ocean Pact. I cannot say now if it will be an ocean fund or it will be a better alignment of existing instruments. This will be, I can be more precise in a few months when things will be more clear. But definitely, we will need to have funding. We will need to establish synergies between different funding mechanisms that exist in the European Union so that they are more effective, like, for example, the different funding schemes that support innovation. We need to incentivize and further promote private investment, maybe through redirecting some of the budget for direct grants to blending. And definitely we need to further support and to strengthen our support to initiatives that have been very, very successful, like the Blue Invest initiative that will be further presented during the week. Initiatives that have already produced tangible results, and everybody accepts that they are successful. We have to further support them because it has been proved that they produce tangible results.
And as we reach the end of this introductory interview, I'd like to also ask you about some of the how you're going to achieve some of the goals of that are already in EU policy. I'm thinking about also one that Ms. Pons talked about in her introductory remark, the idea of increasing marine protection to 30% by 2030. How concretely do you want to achieve that when the EU currently is around like 12% of its oceans being protected?
Well, the European Union is committed to the targets that were included in the Biodiversity Strategy 2030. And there, the targets are clear. Of course, we have to admit that the targets of the biodiversity strategy are not legally binding.
But the nature restoration law has binding commitments.
What is legally binding is the targets in the restoration law, which is a very good means to achieve an increase of the marine protected areas. What I can say and what I can commit is that we have and we will have in the future the means to support the member states in in terms of know-how, but also in terms of funding, to delineate, to designate protected area and to support them in their adequate and effective management. But this is under the competence of the member states. The European Union will provide support. And regarding the nature restoration law, this is not under my responsibility, it is under the responsibility of Commissioner Roswell. I know that there will be also enforcement. I mean, the European Commission will examine whether the member states have already achieved the targets set in the nature restoration law.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner. Please remain seated as I turn to the panel and welcome our other speakers. So we have Green MEP Isabella Lövin, a member of the Fisheries and the ITRE committees and former Swedish Environment Minister. Please sit, here, wherever. Olivier Poivre d'Arvor, France's ambassador in charge of poles and marine issues and special envoy of the French president for the 3rd United Nations Ocean Conference. Thorsten Thiele, founder of the NGO the Global Ocean Trust, and Marta Cavaillé, Executive Secretary of the Low Impact Fishers of Europe platform, which represents and supports small-scale fishers. Thank you all for joining me for this panel discussion today. Building on our conversation with Commissioner Cadiz, I'd like all of you to tell me very quickly if you had one key demand you'd like to see included in the European Ocean Pact. What would it be? I'll start with you because you're next to me, MEP Lövin.
Okay, I wasn't prepared for that one, but
just one. One key demand.
One key demand. I think we need a binding framework. I don't think we can make the change the ocean needs with business as usual. So we need something really legislative and making sure that member states and the union actually live up to the targets that we have set. And I would say, if you allow me to just say one thing, is that, I mean, you say that banks are too big to fail, but the ocean is hugely too big to fail. I mean, our lives depend on it, and we don't have a second chance. We have to do something now, a game changer, and I for sure hope that we will not continue with business as usual, but that this will be a game changer.
Ambassador?
The same for me?
Yes. One key demand for the Ocean Pact?
3 key demands. Science first, science second, and third, science. So as Geneviève told us, we know so few on ocean. And while some plan to capitalize on Mars, I'm sure we do all we are here, plus UK, plus Norway, plus India, China, and other countries want to go to Neptune without any Elon Musk, but with our own strengths, with our incredibly main EEZ. The EEZ of EU is incredibly more important than the Chinese one, the American one, the Russian one. And we have to do that in a vast program, a mission, a kind of mission, of Neptune mission, to explore in 10 or 15 years, I would say, linked to the ratification of the BBNG Treaty, the high seas, why not the deep sea as well, to know exactly what we are speaking about, because we still don't know. We know that we don't know, which is not an issue. So it's what I'm sure Mr. Cadiz will help to provide in this incredibly good occasion we have, the first one since a very long time, since I would say 82, last century, and the ocean is a very new issue. It has 43 years. In fact, it was born in Montego Bay. And the second rebirth was the BBNG Treaty. And then we will have, our vision, which is, I would say, very competitive to some others, like the Mars perspective. A dream. We need a dream.
Science.
And this is a dream. This is a dream at the end.
Ms. Cavaillé, one key demand from your side for the Ocean Pact.
Okay, because we want to have small-scale fishers at the heart of the Ocean Pact, and we urge you, Mr. Commissioner, if you could do that. Because we think that small-scale fishers is more than a job, and it's more than a cultural heritage that, as we are normally presented. We are a way of life deeply connected to the sea and its good state. We are custodians of the sea because we fish in a low-impact manner, and we are actors of change to preserve our resources. We are food providers for our coastal communities, so we play an essential role in food security and food sovereignty, and we are the backbone of the coastal communities, because we are not only providing strong links with autonomize our value chains, but we have strong links with tourism and other sectors. And we are fixing people in their territories, especially in islands and in remote areas. But despite all these benefits, small-scale fishers are marginalized. And we are now reaching a tipping point where we are risking of disappearing, and not just risk to disappear all this sector and our values and benefits, but also all our potential. And I think small-scale fishers could be part of the solution for those ailing seas. So we urge you, Commissioner, to put small-scale fishers in the heart of the blue economy. And we can do that through a differentiated approach from small scale and large scale to ring-fence our rights for being able to access to markets, but also access to resources from encroaching powerful blue economy sectors, right? We need to reserve the 12-mile zone for small scale and low impact fishing. And we need to restore our fish, as you were mentioning before. And that's for improving the implementation of existing rules. And also kind of being able to address the incoherence sometimes with policy and practice. For example, we want the CFP to really have the BMSY as standard reference point for stock management, so we finally lead to stock growth that we are aiming. Thank you.
Thank you, Marta. Mr. Tiller, one demand from you.
I think we need to fully appreciate the huge opportunity that a sustainable and regenerative blue economy offers. It is an integrated opportunity that goes from Europe and beyond Europe. It works with our neighbors. It's based on common standards. And that regenerative opportunity in itself is a crucial investment thesis. And so we need to understand that opportunity that comes from understanding what healthy blue natural capital looks like, how this can be an asset class for large-scale private investment, how the EU can help channel and bridge between that need for an integrated blue infrastructure and the opportunity that comes from that, so that we do get to that point of recovery of ocean health, so that we can use these common frameworks of governments, these common taxonomies and common standards that we've already started to develop in order to actually have this real economic impact.
Commissioner Cadiz, I'll let you reply to some of these ideas. Are any of them already in your draft?
Yes, I mean, I have already referred to the role of science in building a robust knowledge framework to support the policies, the ocean-related policies. I did not make an explicit reference to small-scale fishers, but definitely it will be in the heart of the blue economy because we recognize their importance. They are 76% of the fishing fleet of Europe and an integral part of the identity of our coastal areas. And we are having soon a meeting in order to discuss how we will promote and how we will support small-scale fishers. Definitely this will be part of the Ocean Pact. And when I was referring to some key initiatives, the action that will be developed through the Ocean Pact, this key initiative will focus on the most pressing needs as they will be pointed out by the extensive consultation that is in progress now. And I'm sure that one of the pressing needs is to further support small-scale fishers.
Glad to hear that.
Yes, yes, and I fully agree that through the Ocean Pact, the preservation of the environment should go hand in hand with harnessing its vast potential, and it is a very important opportunity that we have to utilize. Regarding the legally binding framework, as I mentioned before, we are in the middle of an extensive consultation exercise. I cannot prejudge how the form of the actions will be. We need definitely to measure the progress. If there will be a legally binding framework, actually we are discussing now with the legal service of the European Commission what would be the most convenient way to measure the progress. You know, we have to be careful not to add again another bureaucratic burden through more legislation. I think that there are legislations that through which the ocean is protected. We have to implement this legislation. What we need more is the coordination between this legislation in order to achieve the sustainability of the ocean. But anyway, we are open to examine all the possible ways to achieve and measure the progress when implementing the Ocean Pact.
Yeah, Ms. Levin, I actually wanted to get to you on this question, and maybe if you can tell us a little bit more so about like what's maybe been going wrong according to you when it comes to EU governance of the oceans and when it comes to implementation of marine policies. I mean, we've seen there are also difficult trade-offs when it comes to activities in the oceans between fisheries, protection, transport, renewable energy. So how can you like kind of address those trade-offs as well with these new policies? What kind of reforms do we need there?
Well, as I said, I mean, the ocean is our life support system on this planet. So this is really serious that we really manage to implement those policies that we already have. But if you look at the result, we have the target in the Marine Strategy Framework Directive that we should have had good environmental status in our oceans by 2020. That's 5 years ago. We have 11 indicators. I can look at them here. It's fish stocks, it's biodiversity, it's food webs, it's eutrophication, it's seafloor integrity, it's contaminants, marine litter, noise, invasive species. We haven't achieved those targets. And it's getting really, really serious because we now have a new situation with the climate crisis that we didn't have really in 2008. We didn't think about the really urgent and emerging warming, acidification, new species that are moving because of the warming, deoxygenation is completely changing the biochemistry of our ocean. So now we need to make sure that we actually implement these goals. And I think if we think that we will succeed by just continuing with like the same non-binding goals and we'll have another result, we're not going to succeed. So we can't just have a new strategy, a new document, a new roadmap that we put on our shelves, and then in 10 years' time we will say, no, we didn't succeed this time either. I can see in my own neighborhood, the Baltic Sea, the extremely destructive results of the policies that have not been implemented during the last 20 or 30 or even 40 years. We have an area as big as Denmark with dead sea floor. When the storms are pushing the water to the surface, you can feel the sulfurous kind of odor and smell in the island of Gotland, so people don't actually go out because of that. The cod stocks have already collapsed. The small-scale fishermen, They are not making a living at all because it's only the big trawlers that can catch herring and sprat. By the way, the catches go to to fish meal to feed aquaculture in Norway. This is kind of the definition of non-sustainability. Then we have PCB and dioxin, new PFAS, and whatever comes from the agriculture and also comes out into the ocean. This is kind of the example of where we need a holistic approach. We can't have agriculture policies here, pollution and chemicals there, and fisheries here. All the ministers need to get together and have a joint plan, a recovery plan, and that goes for all the sea basins of European waters. Yeah. And I think real coordination, binding targets, is the only thing that can do that. And we cannot have fisheries ministers kind of just managing fish stocks without taking all the other factors into consideration.
Working in silos. Maybe, Ms. Cavalla, I'd like to take you on to this question, just to, if you can tell us a little bit, very briefly, how you kind of handle also these kinds of conflicts and trade-offs in coastal communities.
Sure, with pleasure. Actually, I totally agree with Mrs. Lovin, what she just said. I think the problem is that the blue economy narrative of win-win-win is fallacious and dangerous because not everything fits. We are seeing normally the oceans as a space, and we need to give a piece of a pie for everyone. And I think we are forgetting that, the oceans is the living ecosystem, and it's impacting, and there's a cumulative impact as well that is going to reach them. So not everything is compatible, and we need to acknowledge that. Here, small-scale fishers are key actors, but also the most vulnerable in this kind of competitive movement, environment of powerful sectors and emerging sectors as well. So instead, what we would like to see is there's this blue donut approach to blue economy, right? So we can look at the social foundations and also respecting the ecological ceilings. And within this space, we can see then what is more compatible and what is the coherence aspect of the blue economy. We need to strengthen marine spatial planning as well. Small-scale fishers really, truly, participating in their design. And as you were mentioning as well, integrated coastal management, so land and sea interactions are really addressed. So we know if there's pollution, how we can address this collectively.
Thank you very much. And there is also the issue that we briefly discussed with Commissioner Cadiz earlier in the interview, which is the one of financing these new policies. And so, Mr. Thiele, I'd like to turn to you, if you can tell me a bit more about what are some of the innovative financial tools or new ways to maybe attract new investors, company, make them interested in in the blue economy and ocean protection and ocean activities to kind of accelerate also the transition towards more sustainability.
Yes, I believe we have a huge opportunity around blue finance, around innovative finance mechanisms, both specific mechanisms, but also the integration of these mechanisms at every scale of our blue investment journey. The Commission already referred to Blue Invest, which has been instrumental in getting new venture capital finance and new impact efforts from funds. But that is at the smaller end of the spectrum. At the same time, at the larger end of the spectrum, we have financial instruments like blue bonds that can very efficiently raise large amounts of money. What we need to create is the structure between these larger pools of funds and the specific opportunities on the ground. And there are a whole range of spectrum that we can work on, from guarantee structures, blended finance was mentioned, catalytic finance is mentioned. What is so important is to link it with the ecosystem-based management mandates, so that that finance has a clear purpose, a mission that is towards regeneration. And that is why that regenerative component of the sustainable blue economy provides such an important framing and guidance. And so as we work on 100% sustainable ocean plans, as we work on integrating these different approaches in Europe and beyond, as we work towards UNOC and towards a one ocean finance architecture that at the larger global scale can support that. The EU can play a critical role here. We already have a whole range of financial institutions, the EIF, the EBRD, all of these are European institutions that already are working in this direction, but it needs to be moved to an additional level of public-private engagement, to that coherence, and that's why the European Ocean Pact can be such an important guiding document to actually deliver that finance, because the opportunity is clearly there. We need to increase the total funding in that blue space by a factor that is beyond what can be provided by public finance. But private finance is available, it can be structured. We have a real opportunity here, and this is what's so exciting about this space.
Thank you very much. As we reach more or less the halftime in our panel discussion, I'd like to take some questions from the audience from Slido. We have a couple that are around the same theme, and I think are directed to you, Commissioner Cadiz, which are about how to better implement also existing ocean conservation policies and law, about like whether there are like specific plans to increase enforcement and to ensure a better implementation of existing legislation. And there is also a question about whether there will be restrictions or any rules specifically about bottom fishing and bottom trawling in the Pact. Commissioner.
Yes. Yes, increasing enforcement is a main. It's among the political guidelines of President von der Leyen, actually, but and it is also in my mission letter. To be honest, we have I think in the coming days one meeting with the services in order to see how we further promote enforcement. It is in our priorities to increase enforcement where there is, especially where there is legally binding target that is not met by the member states. The second question, it was about
bottom trawling, whether there will be specific actions regarding bottom trawling.
Yes.
Rules.
The bottom trawling, I'm sure that our friend refers to bottom trawling in protected areas. This is the debate that is taking place, whether the bottom trawling should take place in protected areas. Well, the answer, and I speak now as a biologist, it depends. It depends whether bottom trawling has a negative impact on the targeted species, habitat, or ecosystem that is protected in the certain protected area. And if there is a negative impact, then bottom trawling should not be allowed in a protected area. If through an impact assessment, there is clear evidence that bottom trawling will not negatively affect the targeted species or habitat, then, especially for example, in Natura 2000 areas, there is no strict banding of all economic activities or all human activities. Activities that are compatible with the protection of the targeted species and habitats can continue. So this is the approach that we follow in such cases.
Okay, and I'd like to now take the opportunity for the end of our discussion to talk a little bit more about the upcoming UN Ocean Conference in France and your expectations for that. So I'd like to turn to you, Ambassador Poivre d'Arvor, as you're very much involved in the preparation of that meeting, to tell us a little bit how what are some of your expectations for this ocean conference, especially as we are in in a moment where geopolitical tensions are rising, multilateralism is being questioned by some countries, especially the United States. So where do you see this conference fitting in maybe, I don't know, creating new momentum for handling sustainability of the ocean, which is a global problem?
Thank you. As the organizer, with the help of Costa Rica, of this conference, which takes place exactly 100 days now, I'm quite confident, I would say. And I'm more and more confident. Look at this debate, which appears as a very surrealistic scene in Washington Thursday. We were with Mr. Macron in Lisbon, in your place with you. And when Zelensky was, trying to explain the difference of power between this man and him, the small one, he said, you have a wonderful ocean. He said, you have a wonderful ocean. And what does it mean to have a wonderful ocean? That means you are powerful with that. And I repeat what I said. EU plus Norway plus UK, 27 million kilometers square. US 10. China 3 with Taiwan. And Russia 6 or 7. That means when you know what you have, and that's very important, you are very rich, Commissar, plus UK, plus Norway. We have an incredibly large EEZ, plus an EEZ which is not only in the EU basin, but also in Indo-Pacific and in Caribbean as well. So what we want to do with UNOC, which is, I will repeat it each time, only the third UN Ocean Conference. The same year we will have the COP30. That means we are very late. And ocean is no more a side event of climate COP or biodiversity. It deserves something important, and it deserves a binding instrument you are looking for. But there are some paradoxes even in EU. One paradox is to speak about ocean with that. So please, no more, especially with Politico. I love Politico, but I don't love plastic, as you don't love it as well. The problem of currents, we are working on very important things. We have been very active in 22 to sign this treaty of BBNG, extremely important, 60% of the waters. And then, at the end of the day, so that means the day before the conference next Europe, we will have only 7 or 8 countries who are going to ratify this treaty. Only 8, which is extremely important because it's for the agenda. If we ratify and if we can implement this BBNG treaty, we can have a COP, and we deserve a COP BBNG, which will be extremely important to know more about the water column, to know more about the resource of halieutic, to know more about the genetic resource. It starts like that. There are too many, starting with me, there are too many blue. About ocean, blue sustainable economy. What does it mean, blue sustainable economy? Okay, it means that some company will say, we are honest, in fact, we believe in ocean, but what are they going to do? They always want to produce plastic from everywhere. So if we have this agenda, the COP, which normally should take place in 2 years' time, maximum after UNOC 3. So at this time, we will work very seriously, not only on a EU scale, but EU has to give the alarm. And for that, so it's why this plan is so important for us, this pact is so important. And next UNOC will have to change the world. We have to do 10 years after the climate COP in 2015, what we have done at this time for the climate. We have to do that for the ocean. Decarbonization of the maritime transport. Good news is going to happen at the IMO. And thanks to the shipping companies, which for half of them are from Europe. What are we going to do? To try to raise the political commitment on plastic, which Busan was a disaster, so no agreement at this time. We have on each issue, especially on the governance, we have really to be very ambitious. Also in Monaco and with the help of Ocean Azul, we have to have new financial mechanism. That's something, but not to speak about ocean, to do. Each of us, each country, each stakeholders, each NGOs, it's easy to criticize, it's easy to say bottom trawling is bad. I perfectly share this point of view, especially in my country. But what we have to do is to imagine a plan in 5 or 10 years' time to have less bottom trawling in place where it's very dangerous. And we have also to be very clear on the deep sea mining. We don't know enough about deep sea. Why do we want to start making that? There is no financial model, in fact, there is no real demand. So we have to decide about a moratorium of precautionary pause on that issue.
Thank you very much. And speaking of...
bravo.
Speaking of action, and you, Ambassador, you were mentioning the BBNJ Treaty, so the High Seas Treaty for the protection of biodiversity beyond the for protection of biodiversity in the high seas. Commissioner, where is the EU in ratifying actually that treaty? Because we need still ratification to hit 60 ratification. I think I was looking earlier this morning that we have like, I think 18 countries so far have ratified, so we're still quite far from this treaty actually entering into force.
We will have the 60 ratification. Unfortunately, not enough from the EU. But we'll try to do that.
So where is the EU at in this ratification?
Yes, the EU is ready to ratify. And we are waiting for some member states to get also ready so that we ratified it the same time, sending a strong message that the European Union is present with its member states. You know that the European Union and its member states have signed the agreement. 107 countries have signed the agreement, and we need 60 of them to ratify. Personally, and the Commissioner for the Environment, Commissioner Roswell, are trying to mobilize the governments of the member states. We are also talking to the members of the High Ambition Coalition in order to mobilize also these governments to proceed with ratification. 2 days ago, we were in India. I met with the ministers there, and I asked them to accelerate their procedures for ratification, and they promised that we will do so. So I'm sure that France and Costa Rica, the organizers, are also trying, and I feel that by June we will have the 60 ratification so that the High Seas Treaty enters into force.
Can I ask Commissioner Kadish, how can we have more than 8 countries? Because now we know in the EU member states, I'm sure we know that there are only 4 more member states.
There are more than 10.
More than 10?
Yes, more than 10 are very close. And there are some others that they are trying to reach the target before June. So Cyprus will definitely be one of the countries that will.
Bravo!
Yes.
Great.
I met with the president for this issue, and I asked him to.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. So Cyprus will definitely be on the list. Great. I'd like to turn to you, Mr. Tiller, if you can just tell us a bit more about your expectation for this UN Ocean Conference. What and how do you see also fit in this broader context of difficult multilateralism and difficult geopolitical tensions among countries?
Sure, and I think just following on from the discussion we just had on BBNJ, I think we already need to think beyond ratification. We're helping countries, the EU is helping countries around the world to go through those processes, but we need to start on the implementation. We need to think about the scale of ocean protection and ocean solutions that we want to deliver on. And that's why I refer to this One Ocean Finance Facility. That is that kind of larger thinking that will allow us to make UNOC both an example of what is already being done in various places, but also to take it to that next phase, next scale. That's why this is such an important breakthrough. And I think back to the point that Ambassador Pravador made at the beginning, science is key. So we have the UN the One Ocean Science Congress to kick off that whole process.
Yeah.
So bringing all that together and at UNOC having that commitment, and that's why it's so important that the EU is there in full force to actually support all the countries present, because we have a UN process which in itself has the challenges of different countries' engagements with that global space. But we can play such a prominent role in that context. And the engagement, I've just come back from Tanzania, that comes out of Africa into that is crucial, Asia, Latin America. So that's where the real opportunity lies.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And I'd like to get to finish with you as we were slowly wrapping up our panel with you, MEP Levin, about indeed the importance of this UN Ocean Conference, but also if you can tell us a little bit more about, as we see growing competition for natural resources, for land. I mean, U.S. President Donald Trump is actively looking, has been looking at Greenland, for example, to seize or to look at how to increase, to secure critical minerals. We talked about deep sea mining a little bit. So how do we ensure that this competition for critical resources remains sustainable, that if the EU decides to go for harvesting at some point, which is not the case at the moment, but that this remains also within the limits of the planetary boundaries?
Okay, thank you for that very important question. And at this very critical time in human history, I mean, the rules-based world order is actually being threatened now by the United States, where we hear Elon Musk now saying that the US should leave NATO and the UN. I mean, and the president has talked about Greenland the way you described. So what do we need to do? I mean, we need to stick together as EU and stay strong and be really serious about what we need to do to protect our planet. And it's about actually protecting ourselves. And I completely agree with the ambassador on the moratorium, or the total ban rather, on deep sea mining that the EU now should really stick to, and in the name of science and also civilization, that we also need to know what we're doing before we do things, and we don't know what's deep down there. There's too little knowledge. And I think the precautionary approach, if I also can return to the European Union, we need to get back to what that actually means. And it means that if you don't have enough knowledge about something, it's no pretext for going ahead and doing something. It's the contrary. If you don't know something, that's enough to say, well, we shouldn't go ahead and do this exploitation, or to go on with your activity, even though there's economic interests behind. And that's also, I think, something that we need to apply when it comes to our own ocean governance as well, because we are in a very unknown place right now with the climate crisis. And then adding to that the political forces that really don't believe in science, don't care about it, and just put their own self-interest first in each and every decision. And there we need to show by example how we want to proceed. And I think on science, there's a lot we need to do to change also, and I turn to the commissioner now, how we ask the scientists on advice for any exploitation that we do, including fisheries, because now we're talking about MSY in the Common Fisheries Policy. Marta, you mentioned the MSY, which is, I think, a more valid kind of measurement on what we want to achieve. We want to have biomass. We just don't want to have an exploitation level, which is kind of very, very theoretical. But we need to rebuild the stocks and rebuild our seas, as was said in the beginning. And that goes for the European seas, of course, also globally. But what we can do, I mean, show by example, that is the best we can do. We can ratify all these international treaties, including the one on scrapping subsidies for fossil fuels in the WTO, which was not mentioned yet. But the EU also needs to be firm on that and not say that this is about competition and competitiveness, but we need our healthy planet in order to be healthy.
So will the EU be firm on this, Commissioner Cadiz?
Yes. I mean, especially in relation to deep sea mining, the position of the European Union is very clear.
Yeah, very clear.
We cannot even think of deep sea mining unless there is no knowledge gap. So this is clear in the biodiversity strategy. This is clear in the positions of the European Commission. So there is no way that we can proceed to deep sea mining before there is complete coverage of the knowledge gap that we have now. Regarding the fishing levels and the levels of the fishing stocks and the sustainable maximum sustainable yield, this is an approach that it is based on the principle of sustainability, and I feel proud because if you see how many fishing stocks were fished in sustainable levels 10 years ago, there were only very, very few. Through the common fisheries policy, now the great majority of the fishing stocks, I'm not talking about the Baltic Sea, yes, but in Europe in total, in some cases it reaches 80%. So there is progress, and this shows that if we ground our decisions and our policies on the principles of sustainability and on sound scientific knowledge, then we can have tangible, positive results.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Cadiz. Sorry, we've reached the end of our panel. So with that, I'd like to thank all the distinguished panelists for joining me today for the very interesting discussion. It shows also that the expectations are very high for the UN Ocean Conference in France. And indeed, so Ambassador will definitely be driving the conversation also in Nice. Just before we go, we'd like to take a quick look at the results of the poll, which I can't see from here. But so the results to the question. So your majority to think that promoting a holistic approach to ocean-related challenges is the best action that could be to unlock the European Ocean Pact. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the speakers for the great conversation, and for all of you for joining us and tuning in online. And a final thank you to the partners who made this event possible, the Oceano Azul Foundation and the Europe Jacques Delors think tank. Thank you.
Bravo.
Thank you.
We are united in diversity. We are very heterogeneous in our opinion.
If we do not renew our partnerships with the rest of the world, Europe will not be relevant.
We can make it if we are together as Europeans.
Development and looking ahead.
Do you genuinely believe that countries will manage to reach these very ambitious targets?